for like Dolores, for example, I shot that at like 60 frames, 120 shutter speed, and then just to get like more of like a frantic, like faster look. Because all I really did to like determine how I want to shoot videos was I researched how cinematographers light horror movies. Now I think that's kind of like my style. Like,
hey everyone, how's it going? You're here with me and Weapon Rex, also known as Mark. Today we're going to learn a little bit more about how Mark came to be in terms of being Weapon Rex, and essentially learn more about his style and his process to videography. Hey Mark, how's it going?
hey, what's up, man?
Cool. Well, hey man, the first thing I always wanted to ask, I think it was one of the questions I sent over, is what is Weapon Rex? Like, how did that name come to be?
Okay, so Weapon Rex, pretty much. I'm a huge like X-Men fan, like Wolverine.
Okay.
So what I do is I kind of took like the whole Weapon X program, and then I kind of spliced it with Metal Gear because I really like Metal Gear Solid. So it was Metal Gear Rex, but I just swapped out the first words. It's just Weapon Rex now. So.
Very cool. And that's what I was asking Lance Door. Like, that feels very Metal Gear to me, but I didn't see the X-Men part of it.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
Very cool. Well, I brought up you being a videographer, but how would you define yourself? So, like, oh, what do you do? Do you say I'm just an artist, I'm a cameraman, photographer, I'm a videographer? What is your definition of yourself?
So I guess what I try to do is kind of like put emotion behind the video for the music. So I'll listen to like the artist's song, and then I'll kind of determine, okay, so this is how the lighting's going to be. This is kind of like the look of the color palette and everything. Mm-hmm. And then I'll kind of just figure out like what feel the music really needs, and then I'll kind of determine the look of that. So it changes every time. Like some bands, they'll need to be like very stabilized if it's super technical, or a lot of like clean singing and stuff like that. And then other bands like for like Dolores, for example, I shot that at like 60 frames, 120 shutter speed, and then just to get like more of like a frantic, like faster look.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it just depends, like band by band.
So when you brought the like frantic look, so I guess you walked through, you did that again. So that's based on a frame per second.
Yeah, just kind of like when you get more frames, you get more information. So, and you're cramming that all in a 24 frame timeline. So it's going to look like everything's going a lot faster than it really is. Mm. So it adds a certain level of intensity to the music. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. That's part of why I do these, right? Kind of steal a little information like that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's dope. So I know you brought up, like, you listen to different bands, you try to figure it out. From what I've seen, it feels like a lot of your bands that you film for are like all metal bands. Have you ever worked with someone that's like not metal and not hardcore before, or is it kind of that's your palette?
That's pretty much only who hits me up. Because I think of like the way the videos end up like looking, you know.
Yeah.
They're kind of more like low light, like darker, like mood stuff. So that's kind of like what I attract, you know. Like we talked a little earlier. Like I wouldn't do weddings. I don't think anybody would ask me to do a wedding because of, you know, my portfolio.
I see that. Like, nope.
Yeah, unless it was a couple of vampires or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean that would. I feel like that would fit your style still, nonetheless. And like lighting wise, you could set up a good wedding. But
yeah.
Interesting. That's good. That's good. Okay. Well, so another part of the process. So you said you listen to the bands, figure it out. I guess when it comes to metal and hardcore bands and all that, how do you create a video that's still unique, but it's not like another metal band music video?
Yeah, so that's something I kind of do have a problem with, because I got to like think about it super hard to make it not look like the other bands that I've done.
Okay.
So I got to like figure out creative ways to do the lightings, like mess with like backlighting, lots of silhouettes, just kind of like change the way it looks, but very minimal. It's tough.
Yeah. That's the other thing I was wondering, because I was talking to like Shot by Cisco, and I was like, how do you, at the point, like when you get put into a genre, that genre becomes kind of its own expectations. Mm-hmm. So how do you do that? Okay. Well, like from your videos, right? Like I always kind of mentioned, like from what I assume, you kind of have this like classic horror movie look. Even right now, you're watching a classic movie. Is that like intention on your part, or is that something people are asking you when they come to you?
No, I think that's kind of like my style. Like I really like the way like 80s horror movies, 80s early 90s horror movies look. Mm-hmm. For example, like Creepshow, or like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it's all really surreal. Or like I was watching Lost Boys the other day, and there's a scene where they pull like the two like I don't know like degenerates out of their car, and there's like this flashing red light, and I just thought it was the guy pushing the brake, but as soon as they pull him out of the car, it's still flashing. So like, where's that light coming from? It's always like weird light sources. So that's kind of what I try and incorporate, like stuff that doesn't necessarily make sense in the real world, but it adds a certain level of like intensity and emotion to the video. So it's all based around like old horror style.
So is that where these came from? Where you got these kind of lights before that?
No, I got these, and then I started like, because all I really did to like determine how I want to shoot videos was I researched how cinematographers light horror movies, and that's all I do. And really, all it is, it's pretty simple. They just get like a basic 3-point light setup, and they'll pull out one or two, or add a different one in a different angle. Mm-hmm. So they'll kind of like reverse things. Instead of a hair light, it'll be like underneath and front, you know, and then, or they'll just cut out one light on the side, so you just have the key.
Yeah, very cool. So so obviously music, like movies are a big part. Are there any like music videos you've seen that are like, okay, I want to reference that, or like that music video was like really cool? Like, do you have any of those go-tos?
There's a few, but I think my thing with like music videos, the cuts are too fast for me. I feel like a lot of the music you really want to let it breathe, especially with like technical death metal. If you're changing like every 2 seconds, you're gonna miss a lot of the musicianship that goes behind it. Mm-hmm. Since I used to play in a band and everything, so I know that I would want, you know, my skill to be seen. Okay. So I try to let the cuts hang a little bit more than other people necessarily would, and not use as many effects, which is kind of weird.
Okay, so it really is. Well, like you guys sound like you really do take more of a simplistic approach, but obviously the process of that is not as simple as it probably sounds.
Yeah, there's definitely layers, but in the end, it is a little simpler than what somebody else might have done.
Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. Very cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you hold all the time. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit of a left from the process part. So when if you look at your social media and how you kind of brand yourself, you really have this like anonymous vibe. Is that intentional? Or
yeah, it's intentional. I always just felt like me as like a person isn't representing what I'm doing for the bands. You know, they're not really the same thing. So I kind of want to keep it separate. You know what I mean? Like I want the art form to be its own thing.
Oh,
like I don't want my personality or whatever I believe in to influence what I'm doing for the bands, or for people to think something else. You know?
Okay, no, that makes sense, because then if someone's watching the video, they'll know, oh, I know that dude, so I know, and it feels like more, lack of a better word, you're just like breaking the fourth wall or third wall. Mm-hmm. It's like okay, that makes sense. It makes it a little bit more casual in that regard.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm not super important to like put myself in front of everything, you know. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one question I want to ask, like to that, do you have a YouTube channel?
No, well I do, but I don't put anything on it. Everything I give to the bands, I let them use it. They paid for it, so it's their video at that point. I don't add behind the scenes or anything like that. I pretty much just work on my own, so I don't have anybody to do it anyways.
Yeah.
So
you really are like the background scene artist, and then the video. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's how kind of the videos, like, I know I think we saw here at the end, they're like on Slam Worldwide. Mm-hmm. So you're okay like giving out for that reason too, like I want to put the art versus holding it all.
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that.
Okay. Interesting. So then marketing wise, how do you do your own like marketing?
I don't do anything. It's all word of mouth.
We were talking about that too.
I did boost a couple posts in the beginning when I had like 100 followers or something, but after a while, it's so hard to keep up with, and like I don't have a lot of time to like keep boosting and throwing money back into it. I'd rather just kind of let the videos speak for themselves, and if somebody wants to find me, they'll find me. You know? Yeah. So
I figured. Okay, now that makes a lot of sense. Okay, and then so then on that note about like the money part, we were talking about like you've been charging, right? And then a couple months ago you put out a post and like, hey, I'm taking this seriously now, I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
What was that led to that like transition from being like, this is maybe like a hobby that I'm charging for, but now to like, this is my thing? How did that come about?
Really, I'm just trying to get more gear, and like I'm gonna buy a bunch of gear, and I got to figure out how to pay for it. But I'm already gonna have it by the time the next round of videos start coming in and I start working again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of the main thing. It's just gonna up production value for me, so that cost needs to kind of reflect.
Yeah, that's gonna be obviously go into the quality of the video too. So it's kind of
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
charging, but you can get better quality.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool, man. Okay, do you already have like videos and like projects lined up? I mean, obviously COVID's kind of ending-ish.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'm actually booked up to. I have one spot left in October, so I'm booked up all the way pretty much till November.
damn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good.
Yeah, it's good. It gets crazy, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's cool, man. Very cool. Well, let me ask you this: when it comes to your process in the videos and trying to make it different, one thing I was really curious is like a lot of your videos have again that classic horror vibe, but then when you check out, the Recluse video by Infinite Sleep, then you have like the intro of the dude like saying, "Hey, check in with me."
Yeah.
Was how did that video? 'Cause I feel that one feels so different from the other ones.
Yeah. So that was kind of a thing where they had this idea where they wanted somebody to kind of like the whole story was they wanted to get beat up through the video, right? And we had to kind of figure out, well, why would they get beaten up? And then so we kind of figured so I wrote the whole script out and I gave it to them, like, here, send this to like somebody, and they got the drummer from like Papa Roach or something to do it.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that
Like
guy used to play. Yeah, he used to play in Papa Roach from, I don't know, the beginning to like a few years ago or something. So he wrote it out, made it sound like he was calling people to like beat them up because they released a CD and they weren't supposed to. And then we kind of just went from there. We got a bunch of people, like guys from Dolores and other bands that show up and kind of like just beat them up one at a time and track them down, almost like I don't know what it would be. I guess like kind of like Warriors, where they'd all kind of just fall one at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how that kind of came to be. And those guys kind of came with the idea, but I kind of just helped them structure it all out and plan it all out.
Gotcha. I think that's always like the case, right? Like there's the art half of it, and that's always fun. But it's like, okay, cool. Now to make this happen, there's a whole technical process. That's probably not the fun part of the work, but it's very necessary part of the work. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, a lot of planning goes behind all this stuff. I don't think people really know how much goes. You got to write down shot lists. It's like just because somebody's going to be taking like a case of water out of their car, like you're going to want to get a shot of like inside the car, the trunk opening, close up of the water, the guy pulling the water out, and then tracking of the guy, putting the water where he's going to go, and then it's just a bunch of layers to like a simple thing is taking out water.
Yeah, right. I feel it. So then, how long? I guess so. From the time like you schedule a shoot with someone, I guess how long does it take to go from pre-production to the filming day to the editing? Like what's like a turnover time for you?
That really just depends. I've done shoots like severely last minute with like 2 weeks notice, and like just kind of like throwing it all together, and then it worked out. I'm really used to like working on the fly, so it doesn't. Time's not really an issue as long as the idea of it's not super like ambitious.
Cool, very cool. Okay, so I mean, we talked a lot about like how your name came to be and everything, and kind of your process. But in terms of like taking like my step back to origin story stuff, how did you like in general like come to pick up a camera and then realize? I know we talked a little bit about it, but like how did you like fall into videography like in the first place, and like how the camera part comes out?
Okay. So originally I collect a lot of like action figures of like superheroes and stuff. Okay. So it's kind of weird, but and I'm okay with like art and everything like that. Like I do a lot of sculpting and stuff like that. So what I did is I started making like these dioramas for my figures and setting up like scenes and stuff from like comic books. Oh. And I bought a camera to take pictures of them, and then I started messing with the video, and then a couple guys from the band Mordant Rapture, technical death metal band, asked me if I could do like a playthrough for them. I was like, oh, I've never really done anything like that. Like I just got the camera, I don't really know how to use it. So like, well, I guess it's a good opportunity to learn how to use the camera. So then I did that, and it actually came out really good. I surprised myself for that being like my first one that I tried to do. And then other bands started kind of like hitting me up after then, just snowballed into this thing that I didn't really think I would be doing.
Interesting. So do you still do the photo stuff for your figures?
No, I don't really have time anymore. I do videos on the weekends and I work a day job during the week. So it's like I'm either like shooting a video or editing a video in my free time. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's you get the chance. There's a guy named called Sergeant Bananas.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. That guy's really
funny.
awesome.
Yeah. So same thing. There's him. There's
Mhm.
another person I can't remember.
Mhm.
But there's a point where I'll be at Target. I'm like, I should totally buy this Mass Effect figure. Just like
Yeah.
take pictures of it. But then like I see his behind the scenes. Like I feel like that's a whole nother
Yeah, so
learning
much stuff goes
process.
into it. Yeah.
So no, I feel it for sure. So on the note of like you doing your video stuff, how do you not get grain? Like you have a lot of dark shots. How do you?
Mhm.
But they look clean. How do you not get grain in them?
They're actually all pretty well exposed at 0, so it's not over or underexposed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's mainly the camera, I guess. So I have no idea how that kind of works out. I use a lot of lights. Maybe it's just the light placement. Kind of at a point where I'll like like I've shown up to places where I've never been before, and then have to like film there.
Mhm.
So I'll just set up real quick and like, this will work. You stand there. This will work. You stand there. So I kind of know where to put a lot of stuff for it to make sense for camera. But yeah, the low light stuff was definitely a little harder to get used to. But after I got that down, everything else kind of like fell into place, like daylight and
Yeah.
all that other stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever like obviously you have more control of the situation when
Mhm.
you're filming that, but have you ever done like live show like with like there's a crowd and everything?
Yeah, I did one little live photo shoot, or I guess two. One for a band called Arcane Existence, then another one for One Vote for Violence. But I kind of found that it's kind of a lot more work than it's really worth, because I gotta like pack all my stuff, drive to wherever the show is, stay there until the show's over, and then pack all my stuff back up and then go home. By then, like I could have shot a music video and had it, a little bit edited by then. So I kind of steer away from doing live shows, live photography and stuff,
Gotcha.
just because it's so time intensive.
Yeah. Well, it seems like I've seen people like I think there's like 197, who's like the live show guy, but I don't think I've seen like the music video version. Like, why don't people dabble? But it seems like same thing about the figures. Like you learn one process, you get good at it, and like damn, there's a whole nother. This might sound simple, but that's another process to learn.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how did you learn, by the way? Like, because you fell into it, but like,
how did
teacher,
I learn?
YouTube?
No, it was all on YouTube. Everything I learned was just all from YouTube. People like how to do camera settings, lighting, everything was on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean that's good. That's how it's done, right?
Yeah, I didn't own a camera until a couple years ago.
And now here you are.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how this happened.
Yeah. Well, what I mean on the camera side, what is your setup like?
Oh, so I use a Sony A7 III. I have a 28 millimeter and 85 millimeter. I'll usually use like for like story stuff the 85, just because you get like it's a little more dramatic with the depth of field and everything, Yeah, exactly. So I use the 28 for everything else. Just because it's kind of like a sweet spot for me, where I'm not super close. I could film in like a 10 by 10 room and still get somebody from like the knees up. Like the here at the end, all the inside stuff was all 28 millimeter, and then all the outside stuff was all the 85 on a gimbal.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
I mean that makes sense, because when you're close, like 85 is dope, but like if you're plugging right now, I think the wall is gonna be kind of in focus still.
Yeah.
When you're outside, like okay, I can walk away from you and still get the shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So I totally feel that.
Okay. Yeah, and plus the A7 III, I have a custom button set up, so it turns into a APS-C sensor, so it's cropped, it's a little zoomed in. So the 28 turns into like a 50 or something like that, and the 85 turns into like 115 or something.
Oh, I never really thought to use the crop sensor. Like I was like, once you go like full frame kind of vibe, it's like okay, never crop sensor again. But
I do it from time to time just in case, and then I just started doing like guitar playthroughs in 4K, just so I could kind of like shoot like a wider angle and then zoom in to where I need to, and that kind of helps out. I won't need as much coverage while I'm filming, and I'll just be in and out.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so then obviously like the whole music video is doing. Is there like a type of video or an effect? Like, is there anything kind of like you have a checklist like okay, I want to learn how to do this, or I want to get better at doing that? Do you have that kind of?
Like I have ideas of where I want to like kind of dabble into like more VFX stuff, but I haven't really had a project that's like called for it. Everything I've kind of lucked out where everything's pretty simple, and people just kind of want what I've already been doing, so it makes it a little easier. I don't have so much to learn.
Yeah,
but I still try.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if someone hit you up for a wedding, like a non-vampire wedding, would you do it? Because it's
I
a
don't
whole
know,
process.
man. I don't know. Yeah, it's like a I would be too afraid to mess it up.
Yeah.
You know?
They're. It's like it's going to a live show,
Yeah.
but you have to treat it like a music video.
Yeah, and it's like I only got one shot to make that work.
Yeah.
I can't go back and do reshoots, so there's a lot more pressure there. I mean, I'm sure I could do it because I've done like graduation photos and stuff like that. But it's not really my like thing.
Yeah.
So I'm more interested in doing stuff that I want to get better at.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. If you had the opportunity to shoot like a music video for like a new band, is there one in particular you would like? I would love to shoot a video for live.
Yeah, like Black Dahlia Murder would be huge. I would love to do that. Same thing with like As Lay Dying. There's a synthwave band. I'm not sure where they're from, called Dance with the Dead, and it's like, have you heard of synthwave?
I feel like I'm thinking like retrowave. I don't know if that's.
It's like retrowave, but Dance with the Dead is more like horror, like based.
Oh.
So it's like.
Fuck. It's on my Spotify. There's a film that like a boss of mine has showed me. We're not showing me the album. And it's like very like digital and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's like if you're listening to the car at night, drive to like downtown. It's like I feel like I'm gonna go murder someone right now. Like I'm on, like it's the transition between like the build up. I'll totally tell you once I obviously finish. But
for sure.
That's cool.
But yeah, either of those three. I mean, the bigger bands, I totally do it. But those are like the ones I'd like to get to at some point if I can.
Yeah, no, that's dope. Okay. I know we're nearing time. Can I ask you one last question?
For sure.
Okay. In terms of like, obviously you said you picked up the camera a couple years ago, and then you transitioned to where you are now, and it feels like now you're just in the point of like really taking off. What is kind of like do you have an end goal? Is it more like do you make my particular process where I want to be like a point where my regular day-to-day job is doing Black Dahlia Murder kind of videos?
So that would be cool. Music videos are cool and everything, but my main goal after I started to kind of realize that like I can make stuff kind of look the way I want is short films. I want to do short films.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I do a lot of like writing and drawing and stuff like that. And I have a bunch of stuff like ideas right now, but this whole COVID thing kind of messed everything up. I was supposed to shoot something with one of my friends in April, but now we're in June.
Yeah.
So probably start in July and then get that done. But I kind of set a date, or like not a date, but a goal to do at least 3 by the end of the year. And I'm running out of time. I got to hurry up.
Yeah, the pressure is there now.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me. Glad kind of COVID is dying, right? So we can actually talk.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and the last thing is, where can people kind of follow you and really find all your music videos?
Yeah. So I do have a website that's mainly where you can find my stuff. All my social media is linked to that. It's just weaponrex.com. I dropped the visceral media at the end because it's just too long to type all that in.
Yeah.
So weaponrex.com is where I can be found, emailed, anything.
Very cool. Well, hey, Mark, I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
And I'll let you go. Honestly.
Okay, cool.
We're going. Bye, everybody.
Bye.